The ballroom fell silent as the mansion doors burst open and a man demanded to know where his wife was. Moments later, a simple woman in a plain blue dress stunned the elite crowd. Their world of judgment crumbled in an instant. But what happened next will shock everyone. First, let's go back. The Belmont estate looked almost unreal under the deep violet sky, as if plucked from the pages of a fairy tale too grand to exist in reality. Golden lights clung to every marble column, draped the towering hedges like jewelry, and bathed the sprawling gardens in a dreamlike glow. Crisp laughter and the clink of crystal glasses floated through the cool evening air, carried by the soft jazz band playing beneath a pavilion of white silk. Valets in immaculate black uniforms moved swiftly between rows of gleaming cars. Bentleys, Aston Martins, a rare Rolls-Royce, lining the drive like a gallery of unattainable dreams. Through the crush of couture dresses and tailored suits walked Lily Carter, her soft blue dress modest in cut and fabric, whispering against her knees with every step. At 32, Lily carried an air of earnestness that no designer gown could fabricate. Her chestnut brown hair was pinned into a loose, practical bun, a few strands rebelliously escaping to frame her gentle face. Her accessories were simple, a pair of pearl earrings and a delicate silver bracelet, but her scuffed ballet flats betrayed a life lived with practicality, not performance. Clutching her invitation tightly between her fingers, Lily approached the estate's massive front doors, her heart beating a hopeful rhythm against her ribs. Every detail of the evening shimmered with exclusivity, but she believed, naively perhaps, that an invitation was enough. She had almost reached the first marble step when Marissa Langley appeared, stepping between Lily and the entrance with the predatory grace of a cat guarding its territory. At 40, Marissa was the embodiment of curated elegance. Platinum blonde hair twisted into a faultless chignon, a figure-hugging black designer dress, stilettos clicking authoritatively against the stone. Her icy blue eyes swept over Lily in a single slicing glance. "This is a private event, ma'am," she said, voice clipped and falsely apologetic, each word chosen to wound without leaving visible scars. "There's been a mistake." Lily blinked, lifting the slightly wrinkled invitation in her hand. "But I was invited," she said, the softness in her voice underpinned by an unexpected firmness. Marissa's mouth twitched upward in a patronizing smile, her voice dropping to a syrupy mockery. "I'm sorry, this party is selective." From nearby, a ripple of murmurs rose like the first tremor of an earthquake. Heads turned, glittering eyes assessed Lily as if she were an unscheduled disruption to their perfect evening. Some guests leaned in closer to their companions, amusement flickering across their well-fed faces. Others barely disguised the judgment in their sideways glances. Heat crept up Lily's neck, staining her cheeks as the weight of 100 silent verdicts pressed down on her. Without lowering her head, without allowing her pride to crumble, she turned away, each step back into the night deliberate and steady. Behind her, laughter punctured the heavy air like needles, sharp and careless, embedding themselves deep into her skin. But Lily didn't stumble. She didn't cry. She just walked, away from the golden lights, away from the marble towers, carrying something far more valuable than their approval. Something none of them could take from her. The night air was crisp against Lily Carter's skin as she made her way down the long drive, the glittering lights of the Belmont estate slowly falling behind her like a false constellation. Her steps were steady, measured, the soft soles of her worn ballet flats making almost no sound on the stone path. She didn't rush, didn't stumble. Her posture remained tall, her chin level, her shoulders drawn back in quiet dignity. Inside, the laughter and music continued as if her small humiliation meant nothing, which, to the gilded crowd she had left behind, it likely did. But Lily wasn't the kind of woman to carry bitterness like a wound. She carried it like a blade, sheathed carefully, sharpened by years of knowing exactly who she was. Because Lily Carter wasn't just another misjudged guest fumbling at the edges of someone else's wealth. She was Lily Carter Hamilton, wife to Daniel Hamilton, a man whose fortune had reshaped cities and whose philanthropy had rebuilt entire communities. The estate that had so eagerly dismissed her belonged not to the glittering strangers inside, but to her and her husband. A home bought with integrity, generosity, and work that no ballroom full of preening smiles could diminish. Tonight was supposed to be a simple joy, a surprise. Daniel, as ever consumed by his endless causes, had called from downtown hours earlier, apologizing for running late at a charity summit. He had suggested they meet at the estate, but Lily, always the quiet rebel, had wanted to arrive on her own, to savor seeing their shared dream in full bloom. She hadn't anticipated the gatekeepers. Daniel had warned her, in quieter moments, that people saw only what they wanted to see. That a simple dress, an unfamiliar face, a soft manner, were enough for the shallow to dismiss someone entirely. She hadn't truly believed it until now. Still, there was no anger twisting inside her. No hot tears burning behind her eyes. What she felt was colder, cleaner, a sense of inevitability, as if some natural law of the world had just revealed itself with brutal honesty. Daniel loved her for this very thing, for her refusal to wrap herself in status, for her stubborn loyalty to the things that mattered. Substance over show, kindness over conquest. Tonight, she thought, gripping her small clutch tighter against her side, lessons would be taught. But not with words, not with arguments or raised voices. Tonight, she would let the truth of who she was and who they were speak for itself. And when it did, no amount of gold thread or diamond jewelry could stitch back the dignity those guests had so carelessly torn. Inside the grand ballroom of the Belmont estate, the celebration spun on like a golden carousel. Crystal chandeliers threw scattered rainbows onto polished marble floors, and strings of laughter tangled with the tinkling of champagne glasses. Marissa Langley stood near the center of the room, surrounded by an eager cluster of guests, her black designer gown hugging her figure like armor. Her platinum hair gleamed under the lights, her every gesture dripping with the self-satisfaction of a queen surveying her court. But the illusion cracked the instant the front doors slammed open, the heavy oak panels rebounding off the walls with a thunderclap that silenced the room. Every head turned. Daniel Hamilton strode in, his tailored navy suit cutting a sharp silhouette against the glowing backdrop. At 38 years old, Daniel carried an effortless command. Broad-shouldered, clean-shaven except for a dusting of stubble, his sandy hair neatly brushed back. His icy blue eyes swept over the room like searchlights, missing nothing, missing no one, until they locked onto Marissa. The air tightened, shrinking in on itself. "Where's my wife?" Daniel's voice cut through the marble and silk of the room, clean and undeniable. Marissa's practiced smile faltered, her lips twitching as if they might form a lie but couldn't find the breath. "Your wife? I haven't seen..." But the words died on her tongue. A collective intake of breath rippled through the room as the crowd, sensing a storm gathering, instinctively parted. Conversations withered mid-sentence. Glasses hovered mid-air. Through the opening, Lily Carter Hamilton appeared at Daniel's side. She wore the same simple blue dress, no richer in fabric, no brighter in embellishment, but somehow it gleamed now, radiant against the hollow glamour surrounding her. Her chestnut brown hair was still pinned in a loose bun, a few soft strands framing her calm, composed face. No diamonds, no designer labels, just grace, authenticity, and the kind of unshakable presence that money couldn't manufacture. Daniel's hand slid around Lily's waist in a gesture that was both possessive and reverent, grounding them together before he turned to address the stunned assembly. "This is Lily," he said, voice strong enough to make the chandeliers tremble. "The woman you dismissed, the woman you judged, the woman who owns this estate with me." The words struck like a hammer. Shock froze every face. Forks clattered onto plates. Marissa's complexion blanched to porcelain white, her hands clutching the sides of her gown as if the fabric might somehow hide her shame. For the first time all evening, there were no whispers, no laughter, no shallow toasts. Only the raw, unbearable sound of judgment reversed and dignity reclaimed. The echoes of that night at the Belmont estate lingered far longer than the last champagne glass had been cleared away. In a world built on image and whispers, word of the mansion party incident spread like fire leaping from rooftop to rooftop, fanned by disbelief and hushed outrage. Within days, the story became a cautionary tale. The night when the powerful learned that true wealth wasn't worn on the skin or stitched into fabric. Marissa Langley found herself quietly removed from her post, her email deactivated, her name erased from the glossy brochures that once bore her signature. No official announcement was made. The estate's management simply evolved, leaving her arrogance behind like dust shaken from polished shoes. Her place at the heart of the city's elite evaporated faster than her carefully rehearsed smiles. Meanwhile, under Daniel and Lily's watchful eyes, the Belmont estate underwent a subtler, deeper transformation. It reopened its grand iron gates not to an exclusive few, but to the many who had once pressed their faces longingly against its barriers. The marble halls that once echoed with empty praise now thrummed with the sounds of genuine laughter, the clatter of diverse conversations, the low hum of belonging. Charity galas welcomed guests in everything from denim to silk. Community nights filled the manicured lawns with picnic blankets, live music, and barefoot children chasing fireflies across the grass. The rule was simple, spoken softly, but honored fiercely. No one would be turned away again. One golden evening, as the sun slipped behind the estate's grand stone balcony and left a trail of soft rose and amber across the sky, Lily Carter Hamilton curled up on a wicker love seat beneath the gentle glow of fairy lights. A ceramic mug of steaming tea rested between her palms, its warmth seeping into her fingers. Her bare feet tucked lazily beneath her, brushing against Daniel's leg, where he sat beside her, reading over the plans for the next open event. Daniel looked up, watching her with that quiet reverence he never could quite hide. Setting the papers aside, he reached out and brushed a loose strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. "You never needed to prove anything," he said, his voice low, full of the kind of certainty that didn't need to be shouted to be heard. Lily smiled, slow, sure, luminous. The kind of smile that belonged to someone who had weathered storms and walked through judgment without letting it stain her. "Maybe not," she murmured. "But sometimes it's good to remind them what real worth looks like." Above them, the fairy lights swayed in the gentle breeze, and from somewhere beyond the gardens, laughter and music floated into the cooling air, light, joyful, unburdened at last by the heavy chains of pretense. The Belmont estate had found its soul again, and it was more magnificent than it had ever been.